Greetings from the Long Island Sound podcast. Welcome to the show. Please rate, review, and comment on the show, and call our listener line and leave a message for our guests. Dial 631-800-3579. All right, enjoy the show.
Thanks for joining us for the Long Island Sound podcast. Each week we explore new music and dive deeper with the artists and their stories behind the music. Please subscribe and rate and review us wherever you stream this podcast. Here's your host, Steve Yusko.
Have I got a fantastic episode for you with the Como brothers. It was a kismet connection that got me introduced to these guys. Great music, great conversation. We're going to hear 4 of their songs, and I'm sure by the end of this episode, you're going to become one of their new fans. Let's take a listen to their song, And Then I Met You.
They say in dreams you only see familiar faces. I thought I'd seen them all, I dreamed of all the places. Thought I got the story right, had the book and read it twice. Sought out a world of my own. And then I met you, yeah, then I saw everything. I was wide awake for ages, thought I turned through all the pages. And then I met that I had everything. I thought dreams were for the lonely, never found my one and only. And then I met you. I walked this earth alone, I had a million reasons. Life tears your heart out, breaks it in a million pieces. I was a fool, I was blinded with open eyes, I couldn't find it. It went on and on and on and on and on. And then I met you, yeah, then I saw everything. I was wide awake for ages, thought I turned through all the pages. And then I met you, yeah, then I had everything. I thought dreams were for the lonely, never found my one and only. And then I met you. And then I met you. Walked home in the pouring rain, not a cloud would let me be. And then I met you. Set sail with an open heart, but a wave washed over me. And then I met you. Never thought I would find someone, I was lost the way I'd see. And then I met you. And then I met you.
Two words come to mind when I think about today's guests: passionate and prolific. Matt and Andrew Como are the Como brothers. Together with heartfelt lyrics and beautiful harmonies, this brother duo easily combines rock and pop with a blues vibe. Over the past several years, they've recorded multiple albums and released singles, believe it or not, every month. It's my pleasure to welcome Matt and Andrew to the Long Island Sound podcast. Good to have you here, fellas. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Steve? Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, so that the first one who said thanks, because you guys sound very much the same, was Matt and then Andrew, right? Or Andrew and Matt?
Other way around. Yep.
Okay, Andrew and Matt.
Andrew, then Matt. Yep.
Right. Matt's the bass player. I'll let the audience decide, okay, what that means.
Usually we're a little bit slower.
Yeah, but you know what? You had the technology down getting this podcast together, so kudos to you, brother.
Hey, we love it.
Some...
We're happy to be here. You know, we really were looking forward to speaking with you and meeting you at our gig, actually, beforehand. I thought that was a really cool way for us to get introduced.
Yeah, you know what's funny is a lot of my guests I don't meet till after the fact, and many I haven't met. And I kind of surprise them, a few months down the road when I get to see them live. So it's usually like, blind date, speed dating, when we do these interviews. But I have to tell the story behind this because it really came together in a nice way in that I was at a place called Fire Island Vines in Bayshore, had seen my recent guest, Gene Casey, who's a great rockabilly, roots rock guy, very famous out east. and we got to see him shortly after we put the podcast up. And then Angelo, the owner of Fire Island Vines, which is right on Main Street in Bayshore, came up to me and he said, hey, if you really like Gene Casey, you got to come back tomorrow for the Como Brothers. And my wife gave me permission to go out on my own. And I went to see you guys. And I'm telling you, all BS aside, it was really great. You put on a great show. And as Kismet would have it, there's the Fire Island tie-in, by the way, is that Andrew and Matt's dad was my daughter's math teacher. It's just crazy how things come together. But
crazy. And I'll also just say real quick, because you mentioned Angelo, he's been such a great supporter of ours. And we've actually even been playing weekly shows at that venue you mentioned, Fire Island Vines. It's in Bayshore, Long Island. Anyone listening, great venue that worth checking out for sure.
Yeah, they opened up right. God bless them. They opened up right before COVID, and they're still going. And it's the place has a really nice vibe to it. And the feeling I got about Angelo is he's into promoting local music, which puts us right on the same track. So one thing that came to mind when I heard you guys, and you've had to have gotten this feedback, was the Everly Brothers. It was just your harmonies. You have, right?
We have. We love the Everly Brothers. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it really kind of kicked in for me. So let's do this. Tell me about. I'll go back and forth. We'll kind of ping pong between you guys. Whoever wants to go first, raise your hand and start yapping away. Is when did you first pick up the instrument and say, you know what, I think I can do this?
I'll start. I actually was 18 years old, so I was late to the game. I was always listening to my brother in his high school bands and my uncles play. I had done drums and piano when I was younger and dabbled with other instruments, but never picked up the bass or the guitar. And first note I played was, or first song I learned was Day Tripper from the Beatles. I just started plugging away till I learned that riff, and it was just game over. That was all I wanted to do. Stopped going to class in college and just kept playing guitar and picking up the bass after that. But Andrew, what about you?
Yeah, I think I was I was 10 when I first did the guitar, and then I think I stopped for a couple of years, picked it back up when I was like 12 or 13, and I just played since.
Now, are you guys self-taught, or you took lessons, or where'd you go with that?
I took lessons for guitar for a couple of years, probably 3 or 4 years, and then after that, I didn't take anything since, and I just kind of self-progressed from there. Gotcha.
Yeah, I was the same. I was a really late bloomer. I learned the 3 chords, and then I put the damn thing down for 10 years. This is when I was like 26, because it was just too hard. I just couldn't piece it together. And then what helped me was YouTube and guitar tabs. If I could hear it and emulate it, I could play it and kind of work through it. And I still have to take the dust off the guitars and keep going with it. But that's why I really appreciate musicians who really hone their craft and woodshed it, so to speak, to go out and play. So it sounds like you came from a musical family. So that kind of set a good stage for you?
Yeah, my dad and his brother, they played in the band back in I think it was the late 70s, early 80s. And, but, they resurged it when I was in early high school, and we did like a Beatles tribute band. So every weekend, I was out at the bars with them playing sometimes 2 or 3 nights a weekend. And I loved it. I mean, I think I was only 14 when I was doing that. Nice.
Family taking you out to bars at 14? I got to talk to your dad again.
It was really cool because I played the George part, and I think that gave me a really appreciation for harmony, because he always had the difficult middle part, and This Boy or Nowhere Man. Mm-hmm. And at first I wasn't good at it, but it gave me a real appreciation to find a weird harmony, I guess. Yeah, George Harrison was probably the most underrated great guitar player there ever was, I think, and how he nuanced things, Great parts,
And Andrew did that for years, and I started to pick up Beatles songs so I could play in the band. So I was like, I want to get in on this. So I started learning John songs, and I would sub in as the John player, or, I wasn't playing the bass at that point. And then eventually Andrew and I started, performing together, writing our own songs. I picked up the bass just kind of out of necessity. It just felt right when we were jamming bass and guitar together. And I just kind of fell in love with it from there.
Yeah, you know what? You're my first guest who was actually driven by jealousy, which is kind of neat, it's an interesting motivator,
Yeah, jealousy definitely, got me in the game. And, once you start writing your own songs, you just kind of feel like, it's like that challenge to write just like that timeless classic that really drives us. And every time you pick up the guitar, you just have that urge to want to one-up yourself and make the best song you could possibly make,
Well, that's interesting because it's maybe from my ignorance, it seems like a huge leap going from a player of music to a writer of music and the writer of song. And did that just kind of come natural for the both of you, or yeah, go ahead.
I would say that he started, early on when he first started playing guitar and bass, writing, which I didn't do. I started with my instrument, and he saw me playing the instrument, so he wanted to pick up the instrument, but then he started writing right away. And then I did dabble with writing, but I was horrible. And then I saw him writing, and we would go in the studio, and I said, I want to write my own too. So it's like I pulled him with the instrument, he pulled me with the writing, and then we both kind of went at it like that.
So it's almost like a friendly competitive edge between brothers. I mean, there's always a competition between brothers.
Oh, I would say so, yeah.
Oh, definitely. Like, he would write a song that I would be like, I wish I wrote that one. And I try to, make a better one. And so there's a little bit of that competition going on. I like the way Andrew described it, though. I actually never heard him say that. So that's an exclusive right there. But I agree, because I just picked up the guitar and I just immediately started to want to write my own songs, And it comes from that love of the Beatles. I think a lot of people have that, where it's like, ooh, you got that John and Paul thing. You want to make the best song possible. But yeah, it was just, I picked it up, I learned Day Tripper, and then I started to want to make my own. So.
Well, and this is the typical question. How does it hit you? How does the muse hit you each differently? So let's start with you, Matt. Is, the lyrics first or chord structure first, or a combination of the two?
For me, it's mostly the melody first, and I'll have like these catchphrases that I think will be good for the chorus, and I'll kind of just hum along and turn the mumbo jumbo into words eventually. The lyrics for me is always kind of a pain. I don't know, just the verses especially. If it doesn't come naturally in the mumbles, I'm just, I got to write the lyrics now. I most enjoy coming in, making the chorus and the chords and the music. And then I'm like, verses. Andrew, I'll call him in and be like, you want to write these ones?
Nice.
I love making a good, powerful chorus. But
now I heard this too. I was listening to actually Howard Stern interviewing Springsteen recently. And he said a lot of the time it's, the title grabs him first.
Yeah.
And he works down from that. Have you found that as well? Or is it, I'm sure it's different with each song. Does the title come afterwards?
For me, that's exactly what I'm talking about here with the chorus, the title. Yeah, it a lot of times will do it. But then other times I won't always just hate on the verses right now. I'll say sometimes it's just a puzzle that you got to put together, and some come quicker than others. But Andrew, sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, I with that interview that you were listening to, I agree with that. I think the best stuff that we write comes from, you make the chorus first, and then everything else just kind of follows it. I think that's when the best stuff comes out. But there's always an exception. There's always different situations.
Right. So obviously you're a collaborative group because you're in a band together. But is it the same with the songwriting? Or Matt, do you come and say, "Hey, I've got something complete. I like to spring it on you," or do you bring, pieces of the puzzle together and put the puzzle together? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say there's a mix of all that. A lot of times we write the songs alone, but I feel like a decent amount I'll come to Andrew, and usually if I'm feeling like a little lazy or something, I'll be like, I don't want to write these. Can you help me out? Or maybe we feel like I don't want to point it off all on laziness, but he'll kind of I think I'll fit him into like a part where I'll be like, that set would sound really good if you made this part, or maybe he just comes up with something that's really good for one of my songs after I show him, and maybe it beats the part that I made, and we'll usually agree on that type of thing.
So I'm confused. Who are you pointing to being lazy? Your brother? You calling your brother lazy?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, okay, good.
I'm talking about me. Like, you know, if I feel lazy, like I don't want to write a section, I'll be like, you write this one, you know, but...
It's time for you to take out the trash, Andrew.
What do you think, Andrew? You finish this one up. I don't want to do it. Too much work.
The garbage man. No, I don't know. No, we definitely do. You know, I would say it's everything in between. We do stuff alone. We do stuff where we say, let's just write something from scratch. I feel like that's not as often. It's more like Matt was saying, he'll have a problem with a section, and I'll try to help him out, or vice versa. But you know, other times we'll have it completely done alone. It's like one of those, like those, what do they call those, Venn diagrams?
Right.
It's like not as often do we sit down from scratch and do the whole thing, but it does happen.
Gotcha. So the muse hits you, but do you actually sit down and say, okay, we got to write a song and put it together, or it's just how the muse hits you and you decide, okay, when we get together to play, this is, you know, or practice, this is when you spring it on each other?
Yeah.
I would say, you know, 8 times out of 10, one of us at least started the idea before we come together.
Okay.
Maybe
you know,
more than 8
it's
times.
almost,
maybe 9 times out
probably
of 10.
9 times out of 10. Yeah, it's almost like a like an event where we're like, we never like sit down from scratch to write the whole thing. Like, you want to do that? It's rare. It's
right.
Usually, you know, and I would say, you know, a good amount of time Matt will have one done, or I'll have one done, but you know, most times, whether it's lyrics or a section, we'll end up, you know, working on each other's stuff to some extent.
Well, I think now, you guys live together, obviously, right?
Yes.
So what I think that, you know, in looking at other interviews over the decades of, like, the band, you know, they went up to Big Pink and they banged out stuff, or the Stones would go and rent the chalet in the south of France and just work on, and just be in community together to do it out. So you really have that benefit. And I'm going to take a left turn here. So before our introduction, our audience got to hear the song And Then I Met You. So I got a question for you. First, you'll tell us in a minute what how that song came about and what it means. But I'm also curious of when you pull the trigger and get married. Seriously, how does that change the dynamic? Unless, you know, you're going to be Three's Company. I don't know. So tell us about And Then I Met You, because you did it the other night, which was great, and your fiance was there.
It's a great question, by the way. Great question.
I will say this. Tatiana is she's actually super involved in what we do, not from a songwriting perspective, but she films all of our music videos.
Okay. She's
set up helped set up our website, our online shop. So she's
photography,
and she's a band member's dream. She's like the anti-Yoko.
I knew you were going to say that. I was gonna twist it the other way, but
she's Ono Yoko. She
she's the reciprocal. Okay, got it.
No, she really is though, and you know, so honestly, the more she's around, probably the more we'll get done.
Definitely, she pushes us, and also, let's say music videos or photos. If we were doing that to our own devices, I would normally have not a good attitude because I hate doing that stuff. And Andrew knows this. I come to these things not wanting to be there. I just don't like doing it. I have to sit there.
You can see it on your face, and you can see it in the press photos.
Sure.
You totally have the look of disgust and regret.
Especially with music videos, you know, you got to sit there through take after take, location after location. You're not, you know, to me, it's a pain. And Tatiana makes me actually smile through it. And I think it makes it more enjoyable for Andrew compared to prior to her being around. Andrew, I mean.
Well, because she softens him up where he's not like a total grump. She'll
she
loosen him
must
up.
be very talented at that, because I could see where that would be a very arduous arduous task. You know?
But we make it an event. Every week we'll film a video because we'll film songs from our back catalog and stuff. We're just trying to keep up with our YouTube and everything. And we'll go out after to get an Italian salad with grilled chicken. So it's like an event every week.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's also a creative, so she understands. She's an author. Little shout out her blog called Live Eternal on Instagram. And she does a great job with like anything creative, photos, writing. And like Andrew said, I think she really motivates us to get more done. I call her the idea person because she just lists so many ideas that I honestly, when I talk to her, I feel overwhelmed. Like, I can't do all this. I want to play my guitar. Like, so just keep going. Sure. But it's great. It's like good motivation.
No, but she's the best. She does all of our pictures too. So anything that you see on Spotify or Apple Music, she took that picture. Unless it's a drawing or something like that. But just to parlay it to the song. So Matt and Tatiana met at St. Joseph's at the time St. Joseph's College. Right. So we were playing a show, and she came up, and Matt saw her and he went up to her and that was that. But a year after that, she got him this picture, and it's hanging on his wall in his apartment right now. But on the top of it, it has all these moments from like a collage. It's like a collage of all these different moments from when they met and when they first started going out and everything. And on the top it says, "And then I met you" in script. And I said, that sounds like a song. So that's how "And Then I Met You" happened.
All right. So who's marrying Tatiana?
Me.
Okay. Oh, I got a little confused there. And me would be Matt. Okay. Right. Okay. Because I'm like, correct. Where the hell is this thing going? He met
he wrote the song based off of the sign that's right next to me right now that says "And Then I Met You," and he kind of built the story of the lyrics and everything around that. So I thought that was pretty cool. We love the song so much that we actually asked Andrew to sing it at the wedding as our first dance song. So
nice. Very good. Well, I wish you all the best with the wedding. Why don't we do this? Let's take a little break, and I'll get a little unconfused of who's connected to who. And hang with us, everybody. There's a shitload of stuff to discover here. I'm enjoying these guys' company, and stick with us. We'll be right back. At the Long Island Sound, we're much more than a podcast. We're building a community. Please go to gigdestiny.com. Check out all our social media links. Subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. Please comment. Call the listener line. Tell us what you think, what questions we should ask, who we should have on the show. And most of all, we thank you for your generous support. And remember, support the artists who are guests on the show. Now back to the podcast. Hey, everybody. We're back with, I'm going to say, the fabulous Como brothers, Andrew and Matt. Andrew is the guitar player. Matt is the bass player. And they both write and play some really great music. And what I found interesting, we kind of talked about this before the break, about the fact that you live together and collaborate in the songwriting process, and being under one roof, I think, is a real blessing that leads into that word prolific, that you're pumping stuff out left and right. You're putting content out on your Instagram, on your videos. You got Tatiana. So let me just say this. Any of the people that we talk about on the podcast are going to be detailed in the chapter marks. So as the audience looks at their phone and they're listening to this podcast, they'll see an image change. So you'll see a picture of Tatiana or anybody we talk about, and you'll have links to their sites and their art. So if you want to find out more information, it's there. And one other plug, I do have a listener line. It's 631-800-3579, 631-800-3579. It's in the chapter marks. Please have questions for the Como brothers, have comments, I'd like to learn more about this. Call the listener line. It records an MP3. I share it with the artists, and it's a great way, a great tool for us to have feedback. So that was my little commercial right there. So let's talk about collaboration. One of the things that I was not taken back, just it was really, one, you have a great website. I saw all these videos, and then I see, okay, they collaborated with a guy named Sam Wolf and Kayla Stockert, right? Am I pronouncing your name right?
Right.
And I was listening. I was like, wow, this is neat. In that this is my impression is that you guys are open to collaboration. So kind of give me pull the curtain away of how did these things happen and how do you work this collaboration tool?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's just, when we find someone that's like-minded and likes similar interests, has similar interests, musical influences and stuff like that, we sometimes hit it off, and it just kind of organically turns into something, you know.
In the case of Sam Wolf, we met Sam in Webster Hall. We were both doing a show. We both liked each other and just kind of exchanged numbers, and we ended up doing like a bunch of tours. I don't even know how many dates we've done with Sam, but
it was like these like mini tours that we would go out for, like, I don't know, 5 to 7 days sometimes, just in the East Coast.
I don't know if we've done like 100 shows with him like over time, but we've done like a ton of shows.
Yeah, a lot of shows. I think we met in I think it was the end of 2014, and we put out I don't know how many songs, Matt, but we put out probably almost a dozen songs.
Well, I think we've written about a dozen. We've probably put out so far like 7 or so, but the others are coming.
Really?
I think. I don't know. We got to count them up.
Maybe 8 or 9. I don't know.
Maybe you're right. But we have a few more actually that we've written with him just recently. But like Andrew said, it's just similar interests. We hit it off with him. He's got a very similar style to us. And that's an instance where you talk about song inspiration. We literally sit down, the three of us, and we have not... I'll rephrase that. We've always come up with a song that when the three of us sit together, which is kind of rare, I think. And we've sat together maybe like 12 times with no idea coming in, and then a cool song comes out of it. So I think that's pretty cool.
That's always a cool exercise, because when he comes, it's kind of like you have a set time that you need to get a song done. So he comes and the clock is ticking. We hit it off, we have fun and stuff like that, but we know we have to get a song done. So we sit down and we say, let's get a song done. Whereas where it's me and Matt, we'll try to sit down and just exercise the art of writing a song. But a lot of times, you do that when you're inspired, and when you have a time clock and you say, I need to get this song done in a weekend, it's kind of a cool exercise of let's go.
Right, right. I've heard, in fact, when I was talking to Gene Casey, he's taken trips to Nashville where his promoter or producer will set him up with different songwriters, and I find it interesting in that you almost have to try to force a chemistry to make it happen. But you guys seem to have the chemistry with Sam Wolf, and now it's the fact that you were able to do multiple songs in that purposeful type of work is I find really interesting. It's almost like the Brill Building back in the day where they're like punching in at 9 and they're banging out 3 songs a day,
right?
That type of thing.
And they're really cool songs that we've come up with him, and depending on the song, maybe a different person's driven it. Andrew's really driven a bunch of those too. And like Give a Little Love, the one we put out with Sam in January. I just loved that one. I still listen to it today and I'm like, geez, we really came up with something on the spot that day. That's just really cool, so.
Now for those who don't know, because I Googled Sam Wolf, he was on American Idol. And I think in 2014, if I recall. So that kind of jumped out with me saying, oh, wow, these guys are connected to talented people, if nothing else. So so there's the two of you. Do you have drummers, extensions of yourselves that you go out on tour with, or do you pick up players as you go? How does that collaboration work?
So we have a guy that we use in LA, he's, studio drummer, and then we have someone in New Jersey, and it just started because we really looked up to these guys, and we said on a whim, hey, you guys want to do a studio session, and they did it, and we just kind of made a relationship, and now we've been recording with them for I think it's like 8 years.
Wow. In studio or a mix of in studio and remote?
It's a mix of both. Yeah. I would say from like 2014 to 2017. It was in studio. And then after that, it's been remote pretty much
because
since.
of COVID and quarantine, that kind of forced everybody.
Right, except keyboards. Keyboards, we always meet in person.
Now,
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I would also say it's almost like efficiency too, because we've gone to LA to do sessions with the drummer there, but it's almost like now we're just like at the point like, hey, we have our process down so quick that we could just send it off, get our drums back, and we're recording the rest of it. So.
Yep.
But yeah, long-time collaborators. They've really been awesome and there for us whenever we want to write a song and get it recorded. Andrew records pretty much the whole song, and then we ship out for keys and drums, basically.
All right, so you're doing the mixing, Andrew?
Well, I have before. The only song I've mixed that we've released was a song called "I See Something." But basically, I'll build the song from scratch with Logic Pro. I'll use fake drums. I'll put in fake keys. I'll lay down my guitar. Matt will lay down his bass, and we'll put our vocals on it. And then I send it to the drummer in LA. I show him what I did for my fake drums, but then I strip it out. He plays on top of that. He sends it back to me, and then me and Matt drive to Jersey. And when we get a batch of 4 songs, we do a keyboard session day, and I take out my fake keys unless there's something that I liked, I'll keep, and he'll overdub the keys. So that's kind of our process.
Right. So you don't pass it off to like a production manager who's going to do the final mix and all. It's
mixing. Yeah. Well, mixing. Yeah, we have a guy that does that in upstate New York. He's great.
Do you want to say who it is, or you want to keep it a secret?
Michael Brown.
Because we got to give a plug for
awesome.
Michael. Because we're going to put him in the chapter marks.
Michael needs no introduction, but yeah, he's.
Oh no, it's not for Michael's benefit. It's for my benefit, because if people find Michael through the search engine optimization, he's going to get to the Long Island Sound Pod. There's a whole.
He's amazing, and also we were honored, but he actually released an online class how to mix in his style, called it Browerizing the Mix. And he actually used one of our songs in that, and a lot of engineers really look up to him. So for us, that was like total honor.
Nice.
He used our song as like the example in the class, and we were super honored. Like Matt was saying, we had some engineer friends that we hadn't talked to in a little bit. They were like, dude, because Michael Brower would be like, Michael Brower is like an engineer's Paul McCartney. You know what I mean? It's
okay. All right.
So
he's definitely getting in the chapter marks 2 or 3 times. Okay. We'll get 3 or 4 different headshots to give him as much as he wants. And then you're going to tell him about the podcast.
He's the best.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about... go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just going to say, Andrew touched on like the drummer and the keyboards. In the very beginning, we were just starting out, and it was a long shot, and I just messaged them on Facebook, and they were so receptive, and they liked the songs, and that was the key. We never would have thought that we would have developed such a great relationship with them 8 years later, still working with the same guys. So it's really
anyone
cool.
that we're working with, to be honest. For anyone listening, if there's someone that's, I guess if there's an aspiring musician or anything like that, we didn't think any of those things were going to work out. You know what I mean? We kind of were just like, should we even be reaching out to these people? And just do it. You know what I mean? Like, and just keep, and not even the reaching out aspect. Just keep making songs and keep doing. It's always, you don't think you could do it until you just start doing it.
I remember I had a guest on, a guy named Charlie Cullis, who's a country music singer-songwriter. Great stuff. And he's from Maspeth, Queens, of all places. It was interesting. And one of the things I learned from doing the podcast with him is he grabbed at every opportunity. There was like no saying no. He grabbed at every opportunity that he could, and it led him to places that you wouldn't believe, where he ended up being on American Bandstand and on Captain and Tennille and all these things. And I think you guys have a leg up. And the reason why I say this, we touched on this off air, in that you're young enough that you do not shy away from the use of social media and doing a deeper dive into making connections, where I think some of the veterans in the industry are more focused on their music and less on the marketing and reach out. It's just not in their wheelhouse. And I'm not pushing blame there, but I could see where it worked for me. I mean, I messaged people on Facebook who became guests on the podcast, and I was like, I can't believe this guy said yes. Who the hell am I? And it led into no, really. I mean, I'm no name in the music industry, and people have been very generous. I say that in every podcast. It's just the musician community and how we have our program set up here. It's a win-win situation, and they're very generous. They're very generous with, hey, you know what? I love doing this. You need to talk to so and so and so and so, and it's been really great from when it comes to that. So getting back to the collaboration theme in this part of the podcast is don't be afraid to reach out and make those connections, because you never know where it's gonna lead. And then also the virtual aspects of it, where hey, a guy in Oklahoma can lay down the track and we could do things together to put together a great piece of music. Hey, I do want to jump into the second song you brought to the table, Caught on the Feeling. So who wrote it, first of all? Or it's the brotherly fight here. Who's going to take top billing?
Great. I'll take top billing for that one. This is Matt.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, and Andrew's shaking his head.
No, I'm not. No. There, he's trying to cause controversy.
I'm trying to mix it up like Maury Povich or. So tell us about it, Matt, and then let's let the audience have a listen to it.
Yeah, Caught on a Feeling came about with just strumming along this F sharp, E, B, strumming nice open chords, and I just started caught on a feeling, and it's one of those instances where the title and the chorus is all there, and just loved strumming along to it. And then I came in to our studio and I talked to Andrew and I said, like, hey, I have a first verse. I don't have a second verse yet, or I think we worked out the verses together. I just remember us sitting together and writing the verses together. I had some ideas, right? In terms of what it means, I don't know. I was talking about this the other day with Andrew. I was like, I hope no one asks me what it means, because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't ask that question, because the last thing I want to do is plant a seed in somebody's mind. It means this, and that's what it should mean to you. That's the implication, right? You want the audience to take it and own it and let it pull out a memory of their life that just makes your song their own, if that makes sense.
And I'll say this, for a good amount of songs that I make, it means something to me when I write it. And Tatiana would kill me if I'm saying this on an interview, but I don't care. It means something to me specific when I write it, especially like as I'm writing the lyrics and thinking about it. And then you go out and play it a bunch of times, whatever, you kind of lose that initial meaning. It means a little something different to you each night. But if you read through the lyrics, I think it holds a lot of meaning to the people listening to it. Andrew, you let me know, jump in if you don't think I'm rambling, but Andrew listed a good quote to me the other day from Dan Wilson. He's the guy from Semisonics. He wrote Closing Time and like tons of other songs.
Wait, that was on the show The Office.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah, he wrote Closing Time, Adele's Someone Like You, and a bunch of hits. He's a hit machine, but now I'm blanking. What the hell did he say?
I think it was something like,
Oh, he said, no, he basically said what Steve said. He just said, you might not know what that song means to you. And he said, and that's okay. You don't have to. He said, you could still sing it. Like, he gives these, like, he's awesome. If you follow him on Instagram, he gives these, like, Obi-Wan or Yoda quotes that are short little 15-second videos just about songwriting, about music in general. And it's always like, wow. Thank you, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy to follow. Absolutely.
It's great.
The easy way out, though, Steve, on this one is it really is about that, like, that feeling that you get when you're really like hooked on someone, right. And you're just like, wow, we really had a great connection there. And that's really like the overwhelming thoughts a lot of times when I sing it. But I think it has really cool verses. I particularly love the second verse for those of you listening in today on this kind of deep dive on our music. I would encourage you to take a listen to that second verse in particular. The melodies in there we were really happy with, and they're totally different from the first verse, which is kind of kind of cool.
Nice. All right. So why don't we let everybody listen to it? And then I just got some thoughts about feeling and writing when we come back. So, hey, let's take a listen to Caught on a Feeling. We'll be right back after the song.
All the stars that lead me back to you, wherever you are. The light will show the truth into the dark. I'll go watching the flame burn low, wherever you are. I'll find my way to you, and I wonder if I ever crossed your mind. Cold feeling, letting go. Cold feeling, you ought to know. At night, the candlelight is brighter than the sun. You could be the one for me. If only you knew life had just begun. And I wonder if I ever crossed your mind. Cold feeling, letting go. Cold feeling, you ought to know. Holding on 'cause you can't let it go. The more you hold, the more you'll never know. Caught on a feeling, letting it go. Caught on a feeling, you ought to know. Cold feeling, letting go. Cold feeling, you ought to know.
By the way, that was a great song. Everybody focused in on the second verse. And what kind of caught me, and I was thinking about this when we were discussing this before the song. You know, I've written essays and blogs and stuff like that, and sermons and homilies, and when I've written something that I feel is good, I don't know if this happens to you, I get choked up on my own words, which may sound totally narcissistic. But sometimes when you have something, there's something inside you that goes, oh man, this is saying something. And I don't know if that's the case with you guys, or if I'm like totally out of left field.
No, definitely. No, I agree. No, I don't think it's narcissistic. I think it's just, once you create something, whether it's, an essay or a homily or a song or anything, I think you can stand back and become an audience member, even if it's your own work. And you could take it for what it is. And if it's something that really resonates with you as a listener and not just as a writer, I think that's why that happens. That does happen.
Let me ask you this do you guys critique each other's performances? And let me just hang on to that thought. That thought for a second. Okay. And when I used to write or do speeches, what was really impressed upon me on my professor was, it's not what you think you said, it's what the audience thought they heard you say. And I'm curious of you said you kind of jumped right in. Yeah, we critique each other, but do you really go into, hey, I didn't like that nuance on how you did that phrase, or and are you guys thin-skinned, or like, how does it work for you? Because I'm pretty thin-skinned early on when somebody would go, that was, Dad, you sounded like Elvis. Will you cut out the Elvis voice? I'm serious, And then you go, oh yeah, I was.
Right. No, I mean, we've done that and everything in between. But, at this point, I think, it's more of, how did the show come off as opposed to, I think you were flat in the pre-chorus, in pre-chorus 2 of this song, which, occasionally we'll go tit for tat if we get into an argument, I guess, or something. But,
Oh, that totally happens.
But for the most part, yeah. I think it would be like, me coming to Matt, I didn't think I did that great. He'll be like, yeah, but, maybe that song you didn't feel great. But overall, that show, that was a great show. So I think we got past the point of, there's always an exception, but we try not to get at each other's throats. And I think we're more sympathetic to each other because I think we both understand what having a bad song or having a bad show feels like. And I think sometimes the other person can give you perspective on, what's the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I would say too, if we play a lot of shows, and if we notice a song that starts to lag where we're hitting the harmony in the second chorus wrong or the bridge wrong, we'll sit down together and we'll work on it for like 5 days straight and make sure we get it right, and then test it out the next show and say, all right, are we tweaking this over time to make sure it's better? And usually over time, over the course of gigs, we'll notice the areas where we're lagging and we'll try to improve those outside of the gigs. And over time, the gigs naturally will lift as it like continues to optimize itself if you're doing a lot of gigs, So I think that's part of it. We've definitely gone tit for tat, like if we're like pissed off afterwards and I'll be like, yeah, well, you hit the wrong note in the solo and underneath it all, or whatever.
I could see you. I could see you, Matt,
coming back to me
way.
like,
that.
He's referencing an actual mistake from me. That's like a recent thing.
He won't let it go. He won't let it go.
That was an actual thing. He won't let it go.
No, but I would only say it in response to him usually. So, but that's a real thing too. But I think Andrew's right in that, we do understand for the most part, and over the course of gigs, we play a lot and we recognize our errors and try to work on them outside of the gigs and correct it next time,
But that's also not to say we don't try to push each other too in like a, just trying to get a better product. Like if we're recording here and, I might say to Matt, give it another couple takes. I think you're almost there. You know what I mean? So we push each other in that way,
Let me ask
which
you,
is a good thing.
We'll be brutally honest in terms of, sorry to interrupt, but with songwriting, if someone doesn't like something or a part or whatever, be like,
it's not working,
don't.
Right? Let's talk about live performance, because I find it interesting. You hear performing artists say, you know what, I get an energy from the audience, and that really feeds into a good show. Okay. Conversely, when the audience, and maybe this doesn't happen that much with you, but you've been playing a long time, when you get that audience that is just not engaged, and there's different variants to this depending upon the gig. Sometimes your background, don't take offense to this, you're the background and they're there for their guests and their interaction and their community. And sometimes you're the shit and they're really focused in on you. And then there are times, I would think, where it's like nothing's coming back from the audience. My question is, have you gotten to the point where, hey, I'm playing my music for me? How do you deal with that?
Well, I think it definitely makes a difference.
I think it's a really astute note from you on this, because it definitely impacts your mood sometimes. Like if you have an engaged crowd, or not, it definitely impacts your mood to some extent. And I would say,
well, your mood.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was just going to say, I think in the past it affected Andrew more than me, but maybe I'm just extrapolating. But
well, it affects your mood, but I think it also affects just your and you try to give the same performance whether there's nobody in the room or hundreds of people in the room or whatever. But it does affect your performance. I think in certain aspects, I think you could turn it up a gear when you know that everyone's hanging on
Right.
every
And,
word.
I think it's also reflective energy too. When you're getting energy from the audience, it has to stimulate you to reflect that back in probably nuanced ways that you may not realize at the moment. And I'm gonna turn to Gene Casey because I noticed this when he played the night before you guys played. Right, this guy's been playing for decades and decades, and it's almost like watching a person who does a great speech. You notice certain things that they do that either prep the. Let me take a step back. When I was doing public speaking in my sales position, I had a great trainer named Bill Cruciani, who's an actor on television. And he taught me, he goes, the show starts when you get there and you enter the room or you can engage with the people, right? And I took that very seriously in a lot of different venues outside of singing to engage the audience, to have cheerleaders, to make eye contact with people. And what I noticed about Gene, which was kind of cool, was how engaging he was with the audience, but also engaged the audience with the bartenders and the other people serving them there. It was very nuanced to me, but I picked up on it where he goes, hey, we've got Angelina behind the bar and so there, take care of them. And that might just sound like, a hotel lobby thing, but I kind of caught it and they appreciate it. And that he just created more fans of the people taking care of him. And I thought that was just a great practice to get people in the mood of, hey, we're in this together type of thing. Maybe I'm putting too much on it, but I thought that was a good way to, how do you cajole an audience to be with you and be a fan before you sing the first note? I think that's key. And you guys are young, so I'm trying to teach you something here. Okay, so I don't see you writing notes. Notes, so you must be photogenic memory, I guess.
I love that. And we're big fans of Huey Lewis, and some things that I remember him saying something that Andrew told me. He said
this is it's kind of a cool quote that sometimes we've taken this into a gig and it's worked, but Huey Lewis basically has said sometimes you'll have an audience that doesn't know you, and it's. Basically, he said, they might be standoffish, and he said the worst thing you could do in a situation where the audience is really cold to you would be to kind of press them and kind of like
press harder, right.
Press harder, and really trying to like schmooze your way into them liking you. And he said the best thing you could do in that situation, whether if you're opening for someone and they don't know who you are or whatever, is just to be standoffish too. And he said and a lot of times when you're standoffish too, then they'll come around.
Wow.
And obviously there's always exceptions to any rule, but
yeah.
We've tried that though at different locations. We said, what, let's stop bantering so much and let's just play. And sometimes people will
let
start
the music
coming around.
speak for itself, and don't try to force them winning them over, type of thing. Yeah.
Right. But there's a fine line to everything. You.
Right.
So
yeah, finding a place
cool.
and reading the audience. Yeah, that's all key. And it comes with time. You're a disaster before you're a master at it. And getting the number of gigs under your belt and all your experiences. If it doesn't stress the hell out of you, you learn from it. If you're open to it.
Right.
Hey, let's talk about. Yeah. I do want to. What else do I want to get into? I want to talk about the next song, "Keep on Riding," and then we'll get into some other things after the song. So. What can you tell us about Keep on Riding?
So Keep on Riding, that just came out on November, I think it was 2nd. But Keep on Riding is just about, always going for something, whatever your goal or dream is. And for us, obviously, it's a musical dream, to always be going for that. But it doesn't have to be for whoever's listening. It could be, I gave an example recently, but it could be switching careers. When everyone says, why you want to be a teacher now? You're a nurse. And you said, I'm going to go for what I want, regardless of what other people say. You're going to keep on riding. That's basically it.
What's the lyric in the chorus though? At the end, I always thought that.
It's also and people have obviously we've going for music. We've had people at some point in our lives say things like, you sure that's gonna work out? The line in the chorus is my kind of answer to that is, if I never find it, I'll know it wasn't there. I'm gonna find out. I'm not gonna have someone else tell me, and then which is gonna make me stop writing songs or stop going for what I want to do. I'm gonna find out. I'm gonna go to the very end of what I can do and find out if it's
Good
there.
for you. Good for you. All right. On that note, pun intended, let's listen to Keep On Riding. Be right back after the song.
I'm gonna keep on riding, I'm gonna keep surviving, I'm gonna keep on moving, I ain't afraid of losing. And if I never find it, I know it wasn't there. I'm gonna keep on riding. Oh no, no, oh, I'm gonna keep on riding. I don't need you telling me what I can't be and what I can and cannot do. Cause babe, I got dreams in the sky and I'm gonna die trying to make the whole world move. I'm driving with my head on the road, love in my heart, so watch me as I light that fuse. No, I got ice in my veins, groove on my brain, so listen as I take that cruise. I'm gonna keep on riding, I'm gonna keep surviving, I'm gonna keep on moving, I ain't afraid of losing. And if I never find it, I know it wasn't there. I'm gonna keep on riding. Oh no, no, oh, I'm gonna keep on riding. 2 times the gain, don't take the shot, won't win the game. Now you're looking like the clock's run out. 7 seconds left, gotta make it count. You're at the 2-minute warning, you've been here since the morning till nightfall. They don't know about that. They could jump with the prayer, put your hands in the air, you're flying. Now just keep on riding. I'm gonna keep surviving. I'm gonna keep on moving. I ain't afraid of losing. And if I never find it, I know it wasn't there. I'm gonna keep on riding. Oh no, no, oh, I'm gonna keep on riding. When I was young, I wanted fame and the money, a shiny car and a pretty little honey. But now I don't want the side of things, and I don't wanna buy no diamond rings. I want love and I wanna make a living. I thank God cause I know He is forgiving. I make songs to be understood, and I hope you'll sing along as we ride. I'm gonna keep on riding, I'm gonna keep surviving, I'm gonna keep on moving, I ain't afraid of losing. And if I never find it, I know it wasn't there. I'm gonna keep on riding. Oh no, no, oh, I'm gonna keep on riding. I'm gonna keep surviving. I'm gonna keep on moving. I ain't afraid of losing. And if I never find it, I know it wasn't there. I'm gonna keep on riding. Oh no, no, oh, I'm gonna keep on riding. Oh no, no, oh, I'm gonna keep on riding.
Hey, everybody, we're back with the Como brothers. I hope you're having as much fun as we are doing this interview and getting a good understanding of these two great guys and really, really great music. I'm really interested. It looks like you guys have a lot of gigs under your belt over the years. What are some of the memorable places that you've played? Tell us about it. And then tell us what you've got coming up, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll take this one. This is Matt, and I'll just say you're a great guy, Steve. This is a great podcast. We're so happy to do this with you today, and we really enjoyed it, and happy to do it again at any point in the future if you'd like to.
Appreciate that.
So, memorable places. Yeah, we've done a ton of memorable gigs. All the above, and I feel like a lot of memorable places for me are actually like the CD bars. We've done a lot of places over the years that were just like, what are we even doing here? So I'll mention those. There's been some gigs where Andrew and I just couldn't control ourselves during the song, laughing hysterical. I'd look over and like try to sing and literally laughing into the mic. It's just too funny to continue, and the audience just starts like, laughing with you almost. You just can't control yourself.
Yeah, that's the best.
There's been a few of those. So those are just like events that happen. There's been obviously, venues that were memorable. Like we've done the Cutting Room in New York City, which was like, how did we even pull this off? So that was kind of cool. We had a big gig at 89 North in 2015 where we almost like sold out the venue just based off of our original stuff, and I was promoting like crazy. That was kind of cool. Yep. Where else? Early on, we did like the Hard Rock at Times Square. That was a really cool venue. But really, like we've done a lot of colleges. We've done a lot of memorable gigs at a place called The Space in Connecticut. And
how far have you traveled to play your music?
We've played all the way in California. We were over there for a recording session, and we booked a gig because we knew we were going to be there. So, and when we've been down to Florida, up to Buffalo,
Texas.
So
we did
Texas. We played in Texas.
South by Southwest. We ended up playing a bar. Foster the People was on the main stage going crazy, and then we were like at a local bar close by, so people would pop in after the big show, and see us performing. Right. We've done so many cool different venues, but recently, we're playing a lot of live shows to bring in the money and put food on the table, and that's been great. And so that's been a big part.
Well, let me stop you. Let me ask you this: as far as a mix, because you have a good catalog. What would you say today is your percentage mix of covers as opposed to original music? Such a great
question, Steve.
I would say it depends on the gig, but recently we've been doing like 90%, maybe 95% original. There was a couple gigs where we were playing for 3 hours, and I think we played one or two covers, and that was it. But obviously, it depends on the gig if we're doing a wedding.
Yeah, the reason why I asked, not to cut you off, is, in speaking to venue owners, it's they don't care about your music. They want to know what kind of crowd you're going to draw. And when people talk originals, unless you've got a great presence and you can point to a lot of things, which you guys can, just my opinion, they're few and far between. I mean, there's some great places that are, kind of like Fire Island Vines, where you got an owner who's very pro music. But others are, my friend Mike Nugent said, "Hey, we're in the time of the tribute band," and they'll sneak, it'll be the opposite. It'll be 98% covers and maybe one or two originals. So it's good to hear you have the reciprocal.
So,
right.
This is a really interesting thing that I don't think we've ever talked about with anyone asking us questions. And I think that the thing is we've been doing this a while, playing a lot of shows, and we used to do, like what you're saying, tons of covers and then select originals here or there. Do a lot of covers, Mrs. Robinson, Johnny Be Good, throw in an original here or there. And then over time, we just started to do more and more. It was 50% originals. It would be like original cover. And now even at these long gigs, like let's say if a restaurant hires us or if a different place hires us or a private gig even, we're playing so many originals now. And I think it's the fact that our originals mixed in with the songs that we were playing that were covers so well that the audience didn't really even know if it was our song or not. They just assumed at a certain point, oh, these must be popular songs, but I just don't know it yet. It just kind of came off that way, at least to me. And so we might play like a couple covers and then just keep going with our originals. And I don't, it might not even register that was us making, playing our own song.
Right. You had a perfect segue where it just did the blend or a crossover.
And it just maybe sounds like a song that they might have heard before, and they like it. And unless we say, "Hey, that's a song we wrote," they don't really know.
Right.
Yeah. So basically, we just kept upping the ante, basically.
And this just came to me just now. Is I back when I was a young kid, the band would hawk some of their own CDs to play it. Now, nobody has a CD player. So and I think you mentioned this the other night when I heard you play, is you point to your Spotify list, to find your music. Right. So it's one that makes it easier. And, I remember my daughter told me, because I was working with some older musicians, and she says, Dad, people our age don't carry that much cash. Tell them to put a QR code for their PayPal or Venmo so they can get a tip on the jar. Yep. So, that's just interesting how things change. What do you got, Andrew? What do you have coming up?
So coming up, and before I even say what's coming up, I wanted to say the most memorable gig that didn't happen. We got a request to play in White Plains, and the stipulation was we have to play shirtless.
Matt must have loved that.
I ended up. Oh, he loved it. He absolutely loved it. No, but when I saw that, I said, we'll do it. And I gave just an absorbent rate. I gave a crazy price, and then I never heard back. But
wow,
it almost happened. But anyway, this is what's coming up. We have Port Bistro in Port Jeff on November 26th from 6 to 9. Really great food there. It's a nice place. Fire Island Vines, we're playing again from 7 to 10 on December 3rd. Jason's Vineyard, 1:30 to 5:30 on 12/4. That's in
Jamesport.
Is that Jamesport, Matt?
Okay.
I believe that's Jamesport. And then Quarry Creek on 12/9 from 4 to 8. They're doing like a twilight. I believe that's a Friday, December 8th. I'm sorry, December 9th. December 9th, 4 to 8. Quarry Creek.
Excellent. And you could also go to the website, your website, which is comobrothersband.com to see their events. And also at the Gig Destiny site, we'll pop up your events as they come along. Certainly love to promote and get people to know more about you guys. Hey, let's do this. Let's talk about the last song that we have on the table, Rolling Down the Road. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll have a listen to that song.
So Matt was talking about, hysterically laughing into the mic live. This was a rare situation where we were hysterically laughing while writing this song. This was a song that Matt had the chorus, and he came to me and he said, I don't have anything for the verses. Let's sit down and do it. So it got me thinking, like, rolling down the road. I keep rolling down the road. Why is this person rolling down the road? Well, if they keep rolling down the road, they must be overcoming some kind of adversity or something. So we just made this character that the craziest stuff in the world keeps happening to this person. They got drove off the road by a crazy girl. They broke their leg. They're trying to fill the gas tank in the car while they're traveling, and a dog bites off his fingers. So just like anything bad that happens to this person does. But the message of the song is they're going to keep rolling down the road anyway. No matter what gets thrown at them, they're going to keep rolling down the road.
So it's like, everything bad's happened to me. He goes to pet the dog, actually, while he's filling his gas in Carolina. It's all these different locations, and goes to pet the dog, and he just bites him, And it's basically like, at least I still got, what's the line?
At least I got another 3 to go. So he's saying he bit off two of
his fingers. And then it's just like, I keep rolling down the road.
Kind of like the story of Job. Really? Keeps going. Why me, God, right?
Keep going.
Instrumentally, I'll just say, love the solo Andrew threw down. One of my favorites by him. It's like this dueling guitar solo with a PRS guitar and what is it, a Gretsch?
Oh, it's with my Gretsch, and then Matt and Tatiana got me a PRS for a birthday present, and I said, and I immediately put it on this song.
So really cool.
And for anyone who's interested, if you go on our Instagram, you could find a video of me with a pink guitar, and if you click on it, it's me tracking the solo to this song.
All right, let's have a listen to Rolling Down the Road. We'll be right back after the song.
I broke a leg while headed down to Georgia. Met a girl that ran me off the road. She left me in a ditch in California. At least I got another leg to go. I keep rolling down the road.
Hey, everybody, we're back. And let me tell you, every episode I do of this broadcast is finding you guys, I honestly, is a real blessing. One, your music struck me immediately, and it's something I really enjoyed. And I just hit the tip of the iceberg of what you guys have done. So I really do want to have you back so we can ask the questions. And I don't have a list of questions, but I know I want to learn more about what you do. You're two successful guys. You're headed on the right track. Matt, you've got Tatiana. Andrew has nobody. We'll find somebody for him. If you want to find somebody. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate that, and
no, because I know Matt, you wanted me to try and hook him up because he's alone. He's a lonely guy. So,
for the record, I never said that.
Is that what you guys were talking about?
Yeah, when you were muted.
When I was offline?
No, in all seriousness, it's really been a pleasure having you guys on the program. So,
well, it's been a pleasure being with you, and anytime that you'd like to have us back for reconvening and do an update and catching up, we'd love to do that. We had a great time, and you're a great host. We will definitely share this out because we want all your listeners to hear it, or all our fans too. So.
No, it was great. It was great, Steve. It felt like we were catching up with a friend we haven't talked to in a while. So we really appreciate you having us.
No, I appreciate that very much. It makes me feel good. All right, guys. Till next time, be well, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate the time you spent with us. Please subscribe and comment and visit us at gigdestiny.com. Till next time, be generous with your joy, keep your spirits high, and let the music take you on a journey. Be well. Peace. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate, review, and comment on the show. We really love to hear from you. And call our listener line at 631-800-3579. Again, thanks so much. Be well.